Hello everyone, this is the Circular Economist here, bringing you another video. I am an expert in circular industrial economy, sustainability, and specialized in environmental education and complex economic system theory. Disclaimer, as always, this video is for educational purposes only and not to be seen as anything else. I wanted to give you a short recap of the 3 videos that we've already done and the topics we have already discussed. Then going into the topics of circularity and circular processes in nature. So what did we already go through? So the first thing was, what is sustainability? We have defined the term that the term sustainability refers to the ability to maintain or support a process continuously over time, but also is defined as the meeting of the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. We then went into the linear logic. We have seen the take, make, waste principles on which our economies are based, or almost all economic systems are based. In less industrialized economies, the principles of circularity are more prevalent than in Western economies, for example. That's for just to have a very detailed description of why I say most of economies worldwide. From the linear logic, we then went into the consequences of the linear logic, why it is inherently not sustainable, why it is lacking a fundamental attitude of caring, and also why the material extraction is massive today. We have seen that the increase from 1970, for example, to 2017 was about 241% in material extraction. That's based on the environmental program by the United Nations, the Global Resources Outlook from 2019. And we've also seen that the extraction and processing of natural resources, for example, fossil fuels, or primarily fossil fuels, oil, etc., alone causes over 90% of biodiversity loss and half of water stress worldwide. 90% of water stress and almost half of global greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. It also causes pollution through waste and emissions, and also includes particulate matter and toxic chemicals. The resource use is also, of course, closely related to economic stability and economic prosperity. And it is clear that through the extraction of resources and the accelerated extraction of primary resources or oil-based products or fossil fuels, economic prosperity was given in the last 50 years. That's clear. The global use of materials has quadrupled, but we've also seen that the reintegration rate or the material circularity is about 9%, not even 9% globally, which means on the flip side that almost over 91% is discarded as waste, which is then put either into landfill, ends up in oceans, or is incinerated. Very, very few materials are actually recycled, and that this is actually very ineffective, and this has to be transformed through the circular economy. And that is what leads me to the circular processes of nature. This is what leads me to the topics we're going to discuss today, because this acceleration of those linear processes is actually is accelerating. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the planetary boundaries, the safe operating zones of humanity, where we as a collective should participate in to really avoid catastrophic consequence. So the Stockholm Resilience Center already told us that if we are going to shoot above those boundaries, that there could be, or there will be, inevitable, irreversible catastrophic consequences worldwide. For example, floods, pollution, air pollution, which leads to subsequent health problems, etc. What is the circular economy? What are circular processes? What is circularity in general? So we've seen in the book The Circular Economy, again written by Walter R. Stahill, an introduction to the circularity of nature. So by nature, circular processes are inherent in the environment. We can see here that circularity has been ubiquitous and omnipresent throughout the history of planet Earth in two distinctively different forms. So before we go into that, how nature works in circles or in loops, I wanted to give you this part here first, that circularity is the principle governing nature and the circular society. The latter enabled early mankind to overcome scarcity of resources, people, and skills by making the best use of natural resources available. Sharing and reuse were a necessity and the norm. Now, how are those two distinctively different forms of circularity described? For example, nature. In nature, there are water and material cycles, which are the norm. They are found in periodic like tidal cycles, waves, etc. Nature is governed by a self-organized system of virtuous material cycles where organic waste is food and remuneration for others. The labor to do this is provided by trillions of bacteria, insects, and other small animals, free of charge and untaxed. Natural processes are not subject to constraints of time, money, or culture, nor rules or liability. Nature has no master plan. No events are perceived as negative. So this part here, nature is governed by a self-organized system of virtuous material cycles, where organic food or organic waste is food and remuneration for others. This is a very, very important point. The circular economy is by nature a regenerative process. The goal, or one of the goals of the circular economy, is to eliminate waste. And I have to say this very, very clearly. In nature, there is no waste. Something to ponder upon, which is very, very important. In nature, there is no waste. Everything that is considered waste in nature or lands on the ground is input for something else. So the output of a system is simultaneously input of another system. And that input, which will then be output in a different form again, is also input for another system. And this actually leads to thousands and millions and trillions upon feedback loops, biologically governed feedback loops in nature that are really hard to fathom So the amount of dependencies for every living being, every species living on planet Earth, the amount of dependencies of every species to another species is in the trillions. And all those species are working together in a harmonious whole and in a harmonious way. Those species can be, as we have seen, bacteria, insects, or other small animals. And what does that mean for our economic system? Well, we could have a system that is looked at as a biological system. The term is bionomics. What does this mean for mankind? So, a circular society, in the sense of exchange, has been present throughout the history of mankind. So we've actually done that. We have been there. Individuals created goods and tools from natural resources such as wood or stone for their own use and for exchange in a barter economy. Then craftsmen appeared using their skills to create goods for others, explore new materials like metals and ceramics, and repair broken objects as a service to their owners. This evolution was driven by human desire for a better quality of life and by individual initiatives. So this is actually really, really important, that waste, in contrast to our today's linear economic system, waste is seen as a design failure, and waste is seen as a resource in today's world. So we actually have a lot of waste we actually can use, and although it's, for most of people, it's one big problem, other people see opportunities, and waste is a very, very big opportunity today. The amount of materials that we have wasted over the last 50 years are 90%. So we've actually had an economy where we've wasted 90% of all materials that we've ever used. Well, those 90% are not gone. Those are resources just used very, very inefficiently. We could use those resources. We don't have to extract more and more fossil fuels, more and more primary resources. We already have that waste. And so this is a very important mindset shift from the linear industrial economy to the circular economy, where in today's system, waste is seen as a resource, and in the future, there will be no waste. Because we're going to a system of a bioeconomy, of an economic system that is seen as a biological living entity, where the input of one system is the output of another system, and that output of this system is also, again, the input of another system. So we've actually wanted to mimic the capacity and the mechanisms of nature. And to really bring that point home, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation described this really, really well. Circular economy introduction. What is a circular economy? In our current economy, we take materials from Earth, make products from them, and eventually throw them away as waste. Well, that process is linear, and this linear process is actually non-sustainable because oil and other primary resources are finite and take millions of years to replenish. So we can't maintain the stock, nor the quantity or the quality of the stock. In a circular economy, by contrast, we stop waste being produced in the first place. So there will be no waste, and the process of designing out waste is one of the key aspects in the circular economy. The circular economy is based on 3 principles driven by design. Eliminate waste and pollution. Circulate products and materials at their highest purity and value. Regenerate nature. It is underpinned by a transition to renewable energy, of course, solar and wind, for example, and materials. For example, renewable materials would be, for example, algae-based, seaweed-based, mycelium, for example. A circular economy decouples economic activity from the consumption of finite resources. It is a resilient system that is good for business, people, and the environment. And that is one of the most important aspects or things that the circular economy tries to achieve. The decoupling of economic activity from the consumption of finite resources. It is a systems solution framework that tackles global challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, waste, and pollution. The circular economy framework touches on every sector in the economy worldwide. It is a regenerative system solution framework that is applicable universally to every sector of the economy on planet Earth. We're going to dive into the circular economy, but before we're going to do that, I wanted to give you a little bit of information on what this actually means, and before we dive into the actual circle or the loop of the product we're talking about, we're just going to discuss some further information in the next video. I will go through with you the circular economy, the actual loop of the circular economy. We must transform every element of our take-make-waste system. How we manage resources, how we make and use products, and what we do with the materials afterwards. Only then can we create a thriving circular economy that can benefit everyone within the limits of our planet. A way to transform our system. What will it take to transform a throwaway economy into one where waste is eliminated, resources are circulated, and nature is regenerated? The circular economy gives us the tools to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss together, while addressing social needs, important social needs. It gives us the power to grow prosperity, jobs, and resilience while cutting greenhouse gas emissions, waste, and pollution. I wanted to leave you with that, and in the next video we're going to dive deeper into the concept of the circular economy, but I wanted to give you an idea of what circularity actually is.